I have made the mistake of actually going on X and typing replies to these people, arguing with them. But you have to understand that they will never get it. And if you're here watching this video and you understand this, you are miles ahead of all these other developers because your mindset is right? That doesn't necessarily mean that you're automatically going to make successful games, but it does mean that you are on a better track to do that because you're thinking logically rather than just thinking emotionally, right? Let's think logically. What do people want to play? People want to play simulators, yeah. People want to play obbies.
Or Roblox.
People want to play grow a garden. But your passion, people don't always want to play that. And does that mean that you have to make an unoriginal game? Does that mean you have to make a low quality game in order to get noticed? No, but it does mean that you have to be able to put aside what you're interested in so that you can prioritize what the players are interested in. But most devs, they're too selfish to do that. That's really what it is. Focusing too much on your passion, right? That's selfish. And I don't mean that in terms of a moral thing, right? I mean it in that you're so focused on yourself that you aren't focused on what the players actually want. You aren't focused on what your audience craves. You aren't focused on reaching the people that you actually want to reach. Because we were able to focus on the memes in Jimmy games, right? Like at the time, it was a few years ago, Among Us was a very, very popular meme. So we took that, knowing what the players wanted, and we made that game. And I remember talking to Jimmy, right? He had this idea originally. He had the idea for Sussy Imposter Land. And I was sitting there like, nah, bro, you gotta make something quality. People aren't gonna like that. It's not gonna work. I was the one acting like a hobbyist, right? Me, Smarty RBX, yes. I was acting like a hobbyist back then. Jimmy was thinking right. He was like, okay, people want Among Us. People want Sus. People want this. So, let's make it. Let's make what people actually want. And I eventually aligned with him when I realized, yeah, he's right. And we saw it blow up, and it got millions of visits, and it started making us a ton of Robux, right? And we were able to just keep on growing and growing and growing and growing. And that's because we continued adapting also based on what players wanted, right? We also added in game passes. We also added in updates and quality improvements. We also added in progression mechanics, things people wanted, right? We continued to adapt from there. And because we did that back then, with all these games and Jimmy games, we now have the funds to make all the new projects we want. We now have the funds to have the legwork of dozens of developers working on this, as I am right now with Myro, and as we will continue to do as we do on in the future. Because what this fundamentally is it's a business mindset. You are not thinking in terms of what can I do as one person, which is limited. You're thinking in terms of leverage. You're thinking in terms of amplifying your efforts beyond what you can personally do. You're thinking of using funds to hire more people. You're thinking of using funds to make better games. You're thinking of using funds to scale up what you're doing on Roblox rather than just staying where you are or staying at the current level of output you have. Most people have no concept of leverage. That's why everybody wants to work a job rather than start a business. And we're seeing this just reflected in the Roblox space where people don't get leverage. They don't get why you need a strategy. You need a strategy not so you can make soulless games with the sole intent of sucking as much money out of your players' pockets as possible with every single part, UI button, and mechanic in your game, but rather with the intent